Hello, I'm Rick Stivers. I'd like to welcome you to Young Martin's Reels. Today's plan was to be working on this Shakespeare ladyfish reel, and I was kind of excited to be fixing it for a young lady, Robert's daughter. And unfortunately, when I took it apart yesterday to do a preview on it, it had a problem. The rotor was stuck on it, and I know better than to do this, but I used a trick that somebody on the internet taught me, and the last time I tried it, I broke the reel, and again, this time I did the same thing again. I jammed a rag down in between the gears to hold them locked in place while I unscrewed the rotor, and again, I chipped a tooth in here. It caught, the rag slipped, and it chipped the tooth in there. So now I have a reel that needs a new gear. And when I try it, the way it is right now, if you take a look at it, I don't know if you can tell, but you hear that skip in there? Yeah, it definitely has a damaged gear. And can't find any. I'm going to go through my boxes of reels, and I may end up eventually finding one for it. I've got a whole bunch of reel parts down there that I inherited from my dad, and maybe I'll find one in there. But I have 4 different Shakespeare spincast reels, and not one of them has the same pinion gear as this one, or even is each other. Every one of them has a different pin count. All right, so I gave the young lady a choice. I gave her a choice between this reel, and this reel. This is a South Bend 60. This is probably from the 1970s, which is a nice little reel, but this was not the reel she chose. And she continued. And then we had this little Shakespeare SC200, which is also a nice little reel. And this is not the reel she chose. What she did choose was this Zebco Red Rhino, which is a heavy little reel, and I really like these. I just did several of these for Mario, and so this is the reel she chose, and this is the reel that we are going to do today, the Zebco Red Rhino. And let's get started on it. We're going to start off by unscrewing the cover. Actually, you got to say unscrew. It's a turn. You grab hold of it, turn it about 10 degrees, and pull straight out. Okay? They lock the little tabs in here. See these tabs? They lock into these slots right here. Slide it in and rotate it, and it locks it in place. All right? So now, let's see if we can take this rotor off. Yeah, we took that one off without damaging it. Okay, let's go ahead now and remove the handle. Okay, out comes the handle. That's going to bring us down to this back, and I'm hoping that I don't have too much trouble getting this one on. Nope, I think it rotated. Yeah, it rotated, and we should be able to pull it right off now. There we go. With that off, the trim ring off, you can push in on the side right here. It's got a little clip on each side that fit into these little slots right here. See that little clip? And all you do is just push in on the side, and it'll pop right out. All right, we've got that out. And let's go ahead and remove this E-clip off of the spool. Then we have a metal drag washer on top, a Teflon drag washer underneath. Then we have the spool, and there we go. There should be, okay, if it's stuck to it, sometimes the drag washer will stick to here, but it did not. Okay, so it should be under here. There we go. There's our drag washer, or another Teflon or nylon, one or the other. And then there's the metal drag washer, and this one appears to be stuck. let's loosen the drag, and I don't think that should have much effect on it, but no, that's not going to affect it at all. All that does is rotate the gear around. There. All right. If you look, there are 3 slots on there, 3 pins on there. See the little pins? And if you look carefully here, you will see that those kind of dug in at the sides because somebody put it on there either without matching those up or those slid. Because those should fall right into these slots right here, these 3 slots, and slide right straight down. Okay? But that's not what was happening. Those were over on the sides. All right, with that out, we can now take out our drag adjuster. I believe we can anyway. There should be another metal washer on top of it, but let's go ahead and get it up out of there. There's the metal washer. This one has no pins inside it. All right. Let's see if we can get this guy up. Wow, all those Mario had that were in such bad shape, and none of them gave this kind of trouble getting this part off. Little by little, I'm getting it worked off. There we go. Finally. And see, there's nothing on there that should be damaging that. So I think I'm just going to have to clean that up a little bit and see what's going on. All right, got that part off. Now we're back to the rear. And this is where things start to get a little bit more complicated. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to supply more lighting. But what we're going to do, hang on. All right, so what we're going to do, first off, this bushing over here is not where it belongs. It should be further inside here. Okay, this bushing over here is where it belongs, but we need to get it pushed out also. Okay, so we're going to take this bushing out of this side. We'll come back to this side, take this bushing out. With those 2 bushings out, we should be able to grab hold of this main gear and pull it directly out. Okay, and it appears to be in excellent condition. Now we're going to grab hold of the axle shaft and pull it out. All right, now all these parts are in really good shape except for the center, and I'm not sure what's going on with that. I think I might take a bit of sandpaper to that just to smooth that out a little bit. But we're going to make sure that everything's turning like it should. Everything looks good there. All right, I'm going to clean all these parts up, and we're going to come back in a few minutes and reassemble. What I did on this center shaft is, it seems that the plastic had swollen quite a bit. And so what I did is I took a piece of sandpaper, wrapped it around the tip of my screwdriver, and went around this and gently sanded the entire thing. And it was still just a little snug. So what I did is I went back and put a Dremel tool in here and relieved this just slightly, and so that it'll go on, but it doesn't bind anymore. All right. We're back now with all the parts clean. We're going to start off with this pinion gear, and we're going to take and put a coating of grease on the gear portion itself. We're going to put some over here on the spring, because this is a slider. This is what operates your push button. When you push in your button, your pinion gear stays in place and the whole shaft moves forward. Okay, so you want to make sure to get grease on there. Then we're going to come back. I'm going to add oil here to the main shaft. But don't get carried away, because your axle shaft is going to slide into this case. Down inside here, there's a bushing right here. In front of the bushing is an anti-reverse bearing, all right, which is going to allow this to rotate one way, but not rotate back the other way, all right? So don't put too much oil on there, or it may stop not returning the other way, all right? With that done, we're going to reinstall the main gear. We will go ahead and grease the teeth on the main gear. Then we're going to take that main gear and just drop it right back down in this hole. Now, well, prior to doing that, let's go ahead and put a little bit of grease on this end over here. And there's a reason behind that. On this side over here, we're going to be installing this shim washer. That shim washer goes right there, and it will stick in place if you put a little grease there first. All right, so go ahead and drop the main gear back in, and you've got to get it to mesh with the pinion gear down in there, like so. Once that has happened, then we're going to come back and put these bushings in. Now, if you look at the bushings, look up inside here, you're going to see some slots. Let's see if I can get the focus going here. All right. Can you see the little slots in the side here? There's one on each side. There are notches, or bump outs, on each side of this bushing right there, and those have to go into those slots. So what you're going to do is you're going to set this bushing in place, drop it down in there, and it turned on me just slightly, so we're going to, there we go, bring it back in line like that. This slot here should be right straight up and down, like so. You got to get it to line up with your main gear down inside there. Once you do, you should be able to push that bushing down inside there. All right, like that. That's the way that bushing should have been sitting when we took this out, and instead it was way out here on the outside. Now we're going to do the same thing and accomplish it on the other side. No, the bushing is too far in that video. It should be sitting just like this, where it just goes in like that and it's fitting into that slot. So don't overextend it. Don't push it in further than it should be. That's where it belongs, right there. Find your flat spots on your gears or on your housing. Find your bump outs here. Slip them in place and push them, get them lined up into that gear. If the gear isn't lined up in it, the bushing will not go down. There you go. Push the bushing down. Okay. And that may be as far as it goes. All right. Now let's go ahead for a moment and stick this handle in and give this a rotation. All right, see where everything rotates? There we go. And now I'm going to come back and put a drop of oil here and a drop of oil over here to help these shafts rotate inside those nylon bushings. All right. There you go. Okay, we'll slide this back out now. Take a look, everything lined up properly. Let's go ahead at this point and slide our button back on the back. Before we do that, let's go ahead and put a little bit of grease right on the end of it. And we'll put a little bit of grease right on the end of the axle shaft. And then merge the two together. This top slot up here goes in. With that in place, we should be able to Notch in that side, there you go. That should be into each slot, like so. Take this ring, set it back in place, and line these bump outs right here into these notches. Like so. With that done, rotate it clockwise about 10 degrees, and that will lock into place. And there, you have that part of it. Now we're going to come back here and reinstall our drag assembly. It's our drag pressure plate. Now I believe that when I was sanding, I think I bent this slightly. Let me see if I can take a little of that extra bend out. Like so. So when it sits on there, it will click. All right, that's good. Now, come back. We're going to slide our drag assembly back in. And remember, I sanded and cleaned that up a little bit so that it would go down and fit well. And it does. So now this rotates easily. You don't have to fight the drag. Okay. We take this steel washer. I believe it's a stainless steel. I think it's a wavy washer. All right. It's not straight. Don't try to flatten it. It's not supposed to be. It's a wavy washer. It goes into this hole right here. Then we're going to install this other washer that gave us such a fit coming off earlier. And look at this. It fits right down on there now. With that in place, we can come back now and set our spool back in place. Oh, sorry, missed a piece. Before the spool goes back on, goes this Teflon washer. Now there's no need to oil or grease this Teflon washer. It doesn't need it. It's self-lubricating. If you wish to add a little bit, you can, but it shouldn't be needed. Okay, let's set this down. Now when we try to put the next two washers on here, if you look right there, you can see that the spool doesn't go down quite far enough for those two washers to go on and still be able to put the clip. So what we're going to have to do is adjust our drag to bring this spool down. Let's see which way we need to go. Is it that direction? That looks like that was the right direction. If we go the other direction, okay, yeah, now it's much closer up top. So let's go ahead, take it back the opposite direction. Okay, like that. See the shoulder sticking up now? That's for those two washers going. If you want to see which direction that should be, that should put this star all the way on the far side of that. So you can just start out there if you want. I couldn't remember, so I just left it in the middle and figured I'd adjust it later. Okay, we're going to set the Teflon washer in. Then we're going to take our steel washer, and we got to line those slots up into the little slots on the shaft, and then we can come back and install our clip. In goes the E-clip. All right. Now, there's practically no drag because we've got it all the way down. Okay, let's adjust it the other way. With it all the way up. Like so. Yeah, I can't even turn that spool. Turn it back. Here we go. Nice smooth drag. With that properly seated, we can come back now. We can add some oil or grease, either one, whichever one you prefer, into this spot right here. Now, when it comes to getting under there, oil is a whole lot easier to get to move under there. But The only part I usually will want to oil is this part right here. Just where it pivots. Like so. All right, now we're going to take this piece and screw it back onto here. Screw it down. Went ahead and got the excess grease that was inside off of this. Now what should happen is when you push the button, that pin should go in, and it did. All right. When you insert the handle and give it a turn, pin should come back out in order to wind in line. Okay. I'll leave the handle in. Let's go ahead and install the screw on the other side. Okay, now this is one of those screws that's got that downward curve. It's curved down inside. And I made a special screwdriver for fitting those. That's this one right here. All right. Now we're ready to put the front cover back on. Now it's got a notch here at the bottom. That notch should end up, when you lock it in place, right here at the bottom. So what you do is you find this shoulder right here, this bump out, and put it into the slot that's right here beside the bottom, where the bottom's going to go. And then when you rotate it, that drain hole ends up on the very bottom, so that any water that goes inside here will now run down and out that hole. And there we have this young lady's Red Rhino, Zebco Red Rhino, ready to go. All I've got to do is add line to it. And I'm going to put some, I think, 10-pound test on it. Wish I had some 8-pound, but I've run all out of 8-pound test. So I'm going to put some 10-pound test on it, and I think it'll be just fine with that. So, also, don't forget to put a few drops of oil down in each handle knob. Give it a rotation. These move very freely, but we want to keep them moving freely. If they never get lubricated, eventually they're going to gum up and get stiff where you won't be able to turn. I've had a lot of handles scrapped because you can't turn the handles anymore. All right. So if you like the video that you saw here today, please hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, hit the dislike button. If you'd like to see more videos like this, subscribe. If you would like to see receive notifications when new videos come out, hit the notification button. For now, that's Rick Stivers with Young Martin's Reels, signing out.